Hello everyone and welcome back to another edition of the Tea Brief. Happy Halloween. I'm filming this on Halloween Day. Hopefully I've got everything right. It'll come out tomorrow on Monday. But yeah, here we go. Another episode of the Tea Brief. I've lost count of what episode we're on. Episode 9? 8? Don't think we're on 10 yet. I don't know. I don't really care. Let's get into Lydd, shall we? Now I'm going to do something controversial and I'm going to switch it up a bit because I don't want to talk too much about the SP60, so I'm going to talk about it now. I was shit, basically. So put things into perspective. Let me just get this annoying cable out of the way. The morning was wet. The endurances were wet, and I was loving it. Come on to that in a sec. And then by the time we reached the SP60, the sun was coming out. So it was obvious that the circuit was going to begin to dry, but we didn't know by how much. And in practice, it was still pretty wet, and I was loving it. Driving around, overtaking people. At one point, you could see I looked faster than Dan Brewer, who's fighting for the heavyweight championship. So the main thing. So I was like, right, we're in here. We are in here. And then qualifying came around, and it wasn't as smooth as it could have been. I got caught up behind the chap with the Union Jack helmet, and I was clearly faster than him. But even when I backed off, I just couldn't quite get the lap in. And in the end, I qualified 16th. Behind Richard and obviously well behind Dickie, who actually put it on pole but got a 2-place penalty for track limits, I would assume. So 16th, bit disappointed, but I thought, you know what, let's just give it a good go in the race. Race 1 starts and immediately I got caught out, tried to force the Union Jack guy who was directly in front of me through, as I've sort of been told. It did not work, and I ended up collecting a cone, having it stuck underneath my cart, and having to basically get rid of it. And do you know what? I'm so sick and tired of having shit starts. I'm getting really, and I'm so bored of it, to be honest. I knew, as soon as that happened, I was like, well, great, here we fucking go again. It makes me angry because I just keep getting bad starts and it's just winding me up. If the start had been the only issue with race 1, I'd have been like even more annoyed. But the fact is, I was shit in race 1. I was all over the place. My least favourite conditions, where it's basically dry, but there are wet patches in places, and I just didn't know what I was doing. I made Anwar Beryl Smith. I made him my really good friend by basically costing him the win in race 1. Not intentionally, of course. I just had a moment as the leaders were coming through. Anwar went left, Mike Coppin went right. I had this moment and went sort of like skewing off to the left, caught out Anwar, and Mike got the lead. So I mean, not my problem. I had an issue. Anwar went the wrong way. But yeah, it was just awful. But had I not got a 2-place track limit penalty, I still finished like 13th. But I did, and then ended up 19th. This fortunately, about halfway through the race, the rain came down at the far end of the circuit, so well, say far end, at the final corner, and it caught a load of people out. Unfortunately, that had happened before I'd arrived there, so I knew just to take it easy, and that really helped me. But yeah, in the end, race 1, I was 4th in class, behind Dickie, of course, Peter Gillette, and Christopher Heath. You might be wondering, where's Richard Newton in this? Well, Richard, unfortunately, had picked up a thigh injury the week before and was in, apparently, according to him, excruciating pain. And he'd basically come along today, I think, to make sure that he could last 7 minutes, which is how long a sprint race is, because he does the sprints on the Sunday as well. And he was going great guns. I mean, if there was ever a race to try and reignite a championship challenge in going into the final round, this was it for him, because I was nowhere, and he was going really well. So yeah, big shame for that. And then race 2, it got even worse. He decided to start and thought, what have I got to lose? Well, turned out a lot, because he got launched from his cart and then run over on lap 1. So that brought out the red flags. Thank God he was okay. I was like, oh shit, when I saw he was out of the cart. I thought it'd been red flag, because at the start, as I was just behind Daryl Snelling, the tyre wall at the exit of chicane 2 got launched up. I thought JV had thrown the red flag out because he was like, no, you're all being naughty, you're all being a bunch of knobheads, so I'm calling it. That's what I thought would have happened, but unfortunately it was Richard having a really bad accident. He walked away from it, all good, happy days. So race 2 for me was going so much better. I've had so much grip. I got past Christopher, got past Pete, and I just thought, right, I've just got to try and march on, see if I can make 7 places between me and Peter to try and take second overall. And it was going well. I felt good. My pace was good. I felt back on it. I was caught up behind Jason Bear and two people whose name I don't know. One of them I've overtaken a few times in the past, and I thought I had the run on him down towards the final corner, move that I did very well at the last time we were at Lydd. Went for it, but I didn't go for it enough. It was a half-assed move. My nose was in the inside. He was like there, come round, he goes like that, I carry on, I get a 4-place advantage by contact penalty. So that was P2 out of the window, and then nothing else really happened. I caught up to the back of the Bear, but he wasn't able to overtake him. So in the end, come home with a 3rd place trophy. Do you know what? I actually really like this trophy because it's actually quite small and ergonomical and useful, rather than like this massive thing. So P2, you can see that the difference is big, and this is just a lot smaller, lot handier. I prefer this one, but I'd obviously love a massive one, the winner's trophy. And if Dickie's doing Bayford, unless his pace at Bayford is more like what his pace is at, unless it's more like Buckmore, Llandau, and a bit of Clay, where me and him are a bit closer. If it's like Lydd and Wilton, not a chance. I'm going to be picking up another one of them at the maximum. So yeah, that was the SP60. Oh, and it's also, I think it's also worth saying, the championship is all but wrapped up. It's just a question of mathematics at the moment. I think if I outscore Richard at Bayford in the first race, if I outdo him by 10 points or something, then it's mine. And the second race doesn't matter, but I am going into Bayford all guns blazing for the SP60. We've got to hope what happens in the endurances. And speaking of which, let's get on to the endurances now. So, properly wet. My favourite conditions, absolutely chucking it down, proper wet. I was in my gravy zone. We decided to flip practice and qualifying. We did Jasper out first because when he's been driving pro karts the weeks before, the next time he drives Club 100, he's useless. That's the fairest way of putting it. And he'd never driven Lydd in the wet. None of us have driven Lydd in the wet. So we sent him out first just to get a grip on it. Then Tom went out. Me and him were watching the lines. We were sort of getting used to it. And then I went out for qualifying. And unfortunately, through quali, it started to rain a little bit more. So my best lap was my first lap. And unfortunately, Brilio had put in a really good lap on their first lap. So they were 9th. We were 14th, which is still really good. And it's like, right, as long as this start goes well, be happy days. Remember what I was saying earlier about how I'm fed up of bad starts. Guess what? I got a bad start. Well, I actually got a really good first getaway, and I was on the left side, and the racing line was on the right. So when I saw the guy next to me had not got away well, there was a gap for me to slot into. So I thought, I'm going in there. Obviously, with a right-hander, it was then an immediate left-hander, and as I'm coming through the right-hander, I suddenly thought, hang on, there's a reason you don't want to be on the outside, because if someone spins, they're going to head into you. I hope that doesn't happen. Wouldn't you know it, someone span and basically didn't take me out, but forced me onto the bark, and which worked basically like a gravel trap, and I just got stuck for the entire like just about was able to keep it going, didn't stop, and fortunately avoided getting any bark in my in the chain, whatever it's called. So didn't get black and orange flags. Then I had to do a recovery, and oh my god, this recovery! I was in my element. Really enjoying it. Just passing people for fun. I put in this fantastic move on Matt Horgan round the outside of the bottom hairpin. Just got the braking perfect. It was one of those like, oh, just felt so good. No Yusuf today, by the way. This isn't the sim rig, so it was Matt and Steve Lindley doing it for them. But yeah, I felt really on it, really great. Came for the first pit stop, and that all went well, apart from a dodgy fuel cap. Went out for the second bit, and to the 362 of you, as of now, who have watched the footage I shared, by the way, that's a madness. Thank you so much to everyone that clicked on that video and had a little watch. But you would have seen the typhoon that hit the track. That's the wettest. Those are the wettest conditions I've ever driven in. It was insane. And what was even worse was that my helmet, my visor, was fogging up on the inside. So there were points where I literally could not see where I was going. And there was a moment, there was a couple of laps where I thought they should stop this because this is getting ridiculous. We're aquaplaning down the back straight. It was ridiculous. It was insane. But fortunately, it did start to clear up. I then decided, you know what, I'm going to sacrifice getting water in my face so that I can actually see. And after that, it improved. It was my visor fogging up that was the main visibility issue. And basically just then marched on, got some good overtakes in, was really starting to feel the pace, starting to feel the rhythm. And then just a couple of laps before it was time for me to come in to do the driver swap for Tom, coming into the final corner behind an Inters team who I think I was putting a lap in on, locked up, just missed my braking by quite a bit and ended up in the bark at the final corner and got stuck. And oh my God, that stuff is thick. I think Ryan Sandel found that out in the... my dog goes mad. Ryan Sandel found that out in practice in the SB60. You're not getting out of that in a hurry. So yeah, that was really annoying. So came in, gave it to Tom, and I was just like, we were third in class at that point. But then when Brillo were out miles out in front, I think their fastest driver, he is quick in the wet round Lydd. It was like, well, we haven't got hope. Let's just come second and only lose 5 points to them in the championship battle. But then they did the driver swap, and in between here and there, Monk, who were racing for third, they'd had a really slow stop. Both of them had really slow stops, and then Monk just trundled down the pit lane, holding Brillo up. It was beautiful to see because we were starting to gain on them a little bit, and then Brillo did the driver swap, and their second driver had no pace. Is I think the only fair way of saying it. Tom was pulling at some points 1.5 seconds out of him. Sometimes it was no lower than half a second. And like sometimes it would get up to a ridiculous amount. So we thought, second in class, an hour to go, a gap of about 40 odd seconds. Like if we just keep going around at this pace, we might catch them. And we did. Jasper went out, and I could see Jasper wanted to come in at bang on 140 for his stop. And we could see that he was gaining on Brillo. But I could also see that Brillo were about to get absolutely wrecked by faster carts. They were coming for us. So it was like, well, yeah, we want to bring Jasper in, but at the same time, you might pass them on track. And he did. And it was great. And he came for his start. It's like, right, good. This is good. Let's just keep it clean. Just keep it clean for the final couple of minutes, Jasper, and we'll be fine. Unfortunately, I'd picked up a track limits warning in my first stint, and Jasper picked up 2, and that's a black flag. And Lydd is one of those prehistoric tracks that does not have a timing loop in the pit lane, so you lose a lap. So even though after the black flag we came out on track in front of Brillo, according to the timing, we were a lap down on them, and I get this second place trophy, adding it to my 2 other second place trophies. I realise how this must sound for people that don't have any trophies this year, but when you're in a winning position and you lose it in the final 5 minutes of the race, it is oh so bittersweet. So in the end, Brillo won the race. We were second, so the gap at the top is now 15 points on countback. If you take our totals, we are neck and neck. So the Endurance Championship is the main one for Bayford. Bayford, I want to win, make sure we win the endurances, and then have 2 storming races in the SP60 to round off this quite incredible year with all these trophies, these 2 to add to the collection. I've got more in there as well. It's been an absolutely phenomenal year. The SP60 Championship looks wrapped up, but it's this Endurance Championship I really want us to take home both, and I believe we can at Bayford, based on what happened last time at Bayford, with us qualifying 5th, taking a comfortable race win in the end, and Brilio, I don't think I'm not even sure they were on the podium, so it bodes well, but as was proved yesterday, this is motorsport, and anything can happen, and I pray to God it doesn't. For us, anyway. I hope something happens to Brilio, so we end up having an easy win. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. But there we go. That's the tea brief. That's the penultimate tea brief of the year for the championship. And that's all I can really say. SB60 lucky to get a 3rd place, a really nice little trophy, and endurance. I'm just, this should be so huge, this should be so much bigger, they're so big, the winners' trophies, but I'm not going to be able to take one home unless Dickie isn't at Bayford for the SP60, and I can do well at Bayford for the SP60, but that is all for 2 weeks from yesterday. So there we go, guys. Thank you very much for watching this latest edition of the Tea Brief. Once again, I've gone on way longer than I had expected, but welcome to Rich T Racing is all I'll say. And on that delicate note, I will say thank you very much for watching. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, please be sure to do so, and hit the bell for notifications so that you know when a new edition of Rich T Racing comes out. And all that's left for me to say for now is ta-ta and farewell.